Hey, folks, welcome back to the Pulse. It is 5:16, Monday, August 21st. Welcome back to the Pulse. My name is Matt. This is Crypto Heartbeat, and it's been a little while since we've talked. And, folks, I just feel the need to provide you with some counseling today. I am here to listen. You have a shoulder to cry on. Folks, what a tough time. And you know what? One of the things Rags and I have done is we've been with you through the whole bear market. And we're not letting up. We're still here. Folks, I believe this will be our finest hour. You know, the question is you have to shake people out, right? The question is, do you have the fortitude, right, to handle this stuff? It's not easy, right? It's a challenge. It's the price you pay for the best performing asset, right? It's hard. People are literally devouring each other. And if you pay attention to Twitter, you know what I'm talking about. It has been, it's there's carnage out there in the streets, folks, blood in the streets. And you think, oh, we need some good news. We really do need some good news. And of course, that's why I'm here. I'm here to remind you of what's really going on. I want to give you the perspective I've got because I am the eternal optimist, but also I recognize that these are cycles and you need someone to talk you off the ledge. That's my job today. Talk you off the ledge. Welcome back, folks. Let's see who's here with us. Godfather J6, number one. As usual, welcome back. Talk about a guy who's been with us the whole time. Godfather J6 has always been with us. My online ghost. What's good, everybody? Hex Force 1 in the house. David Lee, all the way from southwestern Indiana. It is so good to see you, my friend. Taryn, afternoon all. Dr. Giggles. Oh, like a hollow object. There you go. Mr. Rock Jockey, good day, everyone. Francis Paul. This is going to be a stream for the people, for y'all. This is going to be encouragement for you because I'm asking the question, how are you holding up? I'm looking around and people don't seem to be holding up so well. But you know what? We're no spring chicken around here. And we know because we've dealt with it before, right? My son, when he first, we adopted my son. And when he first came into our house, he cut himself. And he's like, am I dying? Am I dying? And it's like a little scratch. When you're young and new, it's the first time it's happened to you. And so you're not used to things, right? Everything is different. Its specific characteristics are different. But a lot of times the challenges in life seem to be crises. And people these days want you to believe that everything is a crisis, right? You've heard of fear porn. You know what that is? All this political fear porn. You got to be careful. I even get sucked out. Even Crypto Heartbeat gets sucked into this web of lies. These social media, whirlwinds that you get sucked up into. Don't let it happen to you. Francis Powell, good to see you. Robert Keller, what's going on, my friend? Good afternoon to you. Still buying X-Force 1. There you go. Joe in South Beach working on an amicus brief petition for all of us to sign to support Richard Hart to be filed as soon as Richard answers the SEC complaint. How about that? Friend of the court petition. Would you be someone that would support Richard Hart and say, you know what? I gave a gift to Richard Hart, right? I literally sacrificed for freedom of speech or freedom of movement. I know I would. It was very, very clear to me what was happening, that you were going to lose your money. And that was an option, right? So one of the things I think is really interesting, and Joe, I'm glad that you're bringing this up, is that one of the cases that the amicus brief that was filed on behalf of Coinbase said is that there's an assumption in the Howey case that there's an actual contract, right? There's some sort of actual investment contract that's associated with these things. There was no investment contract, much to the contrary, actually, that there was nothing, absolutely nothing. And that was reiterated a lot. And so it's interesting to me what's happening. But folks, everyone is after us, meaning, you know what? I knew 2 years ago when we talked about the cat being out of the bag, we're now experiencing that. Right now, they're in that situation where they realize, hold on a second, this DeFi thing could get out of hand. This crypto thing, we could lose control of the money. I think it's already past its due date, folks. There's no putting this back in the box. And that's the good news. That's what I want you to be encouraged with. So, Joe, thanks for putting that together. And folks, as that stuff comes out, you get to make up your mind if you support that and stand alongside of Richard Hart. I think history will treat Richard Hart pretty well, maybe in the short run, but it's kind of like Donald Trump, right? You live by the sword and you die by the sword, but we need people who are going to stick their stuff out there, and they're going to be courageous, and they're going to and you know what? We've learned a lot of lessons here. And I would say, whether it's politically, you speaking up, or whether it's financially, you supporting DeFi and things like the Pulse Chain. But folks, we'll have our time. You know what? There's a certain, I don't know, some people call it karma, right? There's a certain balance to the universe. And it's interesting. You know what? God says, vengeance will be mine. And that is true. Let's see. Feeling FUD is something everyone experiences. I'm definitely feeling this FUD right now. Just got to breathe and have faith. And I think a lot of this is separating yourself from that because, we're used to these big swings and, you just kind of have to step away from it. Right. And I would say this, one of the best things you can possibly do is create value wherever you are. There was a number of people who kind of retired. They thought, oh, I can just retire. And maybe you can. But a lot of folks are just like, you know what? Let's get back to work. Let's keep producing. Let's create value. And that gives you more dry powder. But you know what? You have to pick a horse to ride. Always say that. And so the question is, what horse are you going to ride? I'm going to tell you about the horse I'm riding. And perhaps we're riding the same horse. Let's see who else is here. Ruskino, what's going on? And Hexiquin. Hexiquin, great to see you. I loved your all of your AI art. Even if it was supportive of Brandon from Rags to Riches, it was awesome. So I can separate the two, your creativity from his ginger mug. John J. UK, good to see y'all. First live stream in a while. Thanks for being back here. I'm glad that you're here. Misery loves company. And a big part of this is communing, right? What is community for if there's not value outside of the chart? There's value outside of the chart, just so you know. Brother Lee, who dat? What's going on? Love you all. One love. Awesome. Good to see you. DJ and Dougie Peach. What's up, Mr. Peach? Some of the people don't even know that he used to be Mr. Peach. Bob, what's going on? Wrecked. Everybody's so wrecked. Let's see who else is here. Everybody is chatting. I honestly still have a sense of calmness. I might start letting the FUD get to me in a couple of years. There you go. Well, in a couple of years, I think the things that I've got out on the horizon, the things that I constantly been thinking about, is that there are people who are building, and there's all kinds of FUD around that, but there are people who are building things, and we're building some things that I'm very excited about. I can't talk about those in, specifically, but we have some things going that could be literally transformative for unlocking global generosity. And I would say this, how do you unlock global generosity? Well, people have to have resources in order to be generous with their money, but you can be generous with your time, a nice word, right? There's all kinds of different ways in which you can be generous. But I look at this mechanism of the blockchain as something that we can animate for good in the world. And I see Richard in his way doing that. So the question is, what is your way to do that? One of the things I think is needed in the crypto space is I think that in order for this to be a true alternative, we're going to have more infrastructure. We're going to have more projects. We're going to have more adoption, and we're going to have more locked liquidity. And to me, that's a big part of this whole thing, right? I think a lot of people are like, we need to have that moment, right? We want to have that viral moment in this Pulse Chain community. Well, what does it require, and what would be catalysts for that viral moment? Is it the awareness of the SEC? Is it the winning of an SEC case? Is it a movie? Is it a NASCAR race or whatever it may be? You know what? There are all kinds of different catalysts, but one I think is really important for the long term is that the Pulse Chain becomes this viable place for people like PhDs in economics. If you see what's happening with Lamont Black, that's a good example. I think that's a good leading indicator that somebody of his intellect is engaging. But also I see on the flip side of that completely degenerate behavior and people attacking folks. And I understand that when you're part of a community and you have free speech, you can say and do just about anything you want to, but people are watching. But when it comes to financial things, people are looking for a sure thing. And I think that one of the things that true DeFi needs, and this is really what I would consider to be what the Pulse chain represents, right? Censorship resistance, right? No counterparty risk, no middlemen, freedom of speech, freedom of movement, freedom to transact, is we need some more infrastructure. But one of the things we really need is we need a lot more liquidity in this space because folks that have big money, they want a sure thing. And one of the greatest things about Hex and Pulse Chain and PulseX and Texan and Ophir is trustless yield. Trustless yield is true, right? And I think that if you have enough liquidity and you can guarantee people that they can get in and out, right? They've got more, there's more chance they're going to be in it. But you have to have people who are telling that story. And right now, this is still early, if you can possibly believe it, right? Bitcoin's old. It's at the top of its cycle, right? The ETF's coming out. But here's the thing. When it comes to who's going to win this battle, it feels a lot like the early days of the dot-com era to me. And I lived right through the dot-com era where all the money was being thrown around at every single dot-com that was out there. How many of those have survived? And you think about it, when it comes to crypto, what really matters is people in community and trust, because this is a communication network, right? And so, we need to think in terms of adoption and how do people how do people adopt things? And so the effort that we're taking is to look at communities of trust that currently exist. And I'd be interested in just ideas that you have because, I think about a lot of different key organizations or religious organizations or, countries or people groups or, for example, I was talking to somebody the other day and they said, what about Native Americans across North America? I was like, wow, what a great group to tokenize. Who has trust? They have community and have a desire to embrace a new economic order. And so those are the kind of things as we look at tokenizing communities, that's what's going to bring massive adoption because people see themselves in things, right? They call them hexagons. Well, what is that? Well, you have to accept a lot of things to call yourself a hexagon, but there are plenty of people who do. The same thing is true, the things that you associate yourself with and that you're identified by. And so as we look at tokenizing communities, go to where the trust already exists. And they will just transact wherever it is transactable. It's not about the Pulse chain. It's kind of like saying, you know what? I only watch movies from Miramax. Right? Can you imagine if that was what you said? No one has ever said that. I only watch Miramax films. Right? There's no brand equity, and no one is like, well, I only watch Miramax films. Now, you might like a certain director or a certain actor, but you don't make decisions like that. That's kind of like layer ones, And I think that right now, in order to get these things going, you have to have founders and you have to have community. This is how they organically are created. But if you create value, and because these things are cycles, we're going to see this next bull run. The thing I want to see is I want to see people across the world have a shot, an even footing with each other. That's all I want. And I think that is a big way in which we increase adoption in the Pulse chain. We need more infrastructure. We need more program. We don't need more, meme coins, I don't think, but maybe we do. We need more people. But it gives, obviously, this is the key to the growth of things, right? So right now is a tough time. And so I ask you the question, how are you holding up? The thing that's out on the horizon for me that gives me some encouragement is the halvening. The Bitcoin halvening has been the time where things have kicked off. And so some would speculate that that's in April. Okay, well, let's see. It's almost September right now. Okay, September, October, November, December, right? We get through the end of this year, this last quarter. Okay, we can do that. That happens pretty quickly. 4 months goes by really quickly. January, February, March, and then April. You see what a new year and an election does. That's what I would suggest. These things that are coming up, this is going to be a really pivotal time. And who knows what's going on, because there seems to be a lot of things that are getting ready to pop. And one of them is potentially the economy. Is it going to get worse before it gets better? Likely. But this next go around is when everything is digital. Everything's going digital, right? Money is going digital. The question is, will there be alternatives to the CBDCs? And will there be a place to transact that's not compromised? And I keep telling you every time I get on stream, I do not see a layer one that's not going to get into bed with the globalist elite, or at least those that will be compromised by, well, we want this kind of partnership, so we have to go along with this. The pure tenets of DeFi is really the whole reason that this thing was created. Freedom and sovereignty for us to choose our own path. And that's why this is so pivotal. Because here's the thing, if they can just FUD us out and get us to fight each other, that's the playbook, folks. So how do you keep people together? Well, you got to encourage them. Got to say, hey, hang on, create value, redouble down, focus on yourself. Make sure your family situation's good. Make sure your relationships are good. And just bite down on it, right? That's what we have to do. And it's hard, but you know what? Belly aching and fighting with people in the community does not add value at all. Let's get back into the chat. Say hello to you. We got a number of folks in. Wow, quite a few people. Crypto Footsteps. What's going on? Brags, Richard Max, and now Heartbeat streams nonstop, baby. Tigray, thanks for all you do, Crypto Heartbeat. Much love from the jungle. Thanks for being here. Crypto Crazy. Dude, you know who's building? This is Liquid Loans. They're getting close, folks. Boy, that seemed like I don't know, an eternity ago. Remember Liquid Loans? Remember the sacrifice for Liquid Loans? That seemed like almost a lifetime ago. But it's coming, folks. It's close. So it's stuff like these protocols that are going to be on, that are going to support the business of the blockchain on the Pulse chain. And so, CC, thanks for being here, man. I really appreciate it. We need to stick together. Leadership is extremely important in these times because people will devour each other, especially people who aren't disciplined. So I just want to remind you, there's benefit for sticking this out. There is real benefit. And I don't just mean financially. You want to associate yourself with good people. I do. But I want to be on a mission to literally build this ecosystem that doesn't have globalist fingers all over it. And I believe that that's what Richard Heart is all about. I mean, he saw the freedom of speech and freedom of movement stuff long before we did. And now look at how important it is. I mean, it's the stories of the day and privacy and all of these things. So, you know what? Can't predict the future, but I'll tell you what, you got to stand on your principles. And that's one thing I think Richard will do. He will not compromise his principles. He will not sell out, nor will you, and nor will I. So let's advocate for people who are struggling in this world, and let's bring value to them. And that's what CC's doing. That's what we're doing, right? Advocating for people to have a fair shot, right? We're returning it to popular control. What's up, Tin Top? Good to see you. Renee Vogel Jr. And we need to strive to choose to be kind versus being right. You know, a lot of times it feels good, right? People need to argue. People need to win. It's hard. It is really hard. And boy, I'll tell you what, if you listen to any of the Friday streams with Steve Staggs, you'll know that drawing people off sides, that's how the evil one gets a foothold, man. It's drawing you off sides. And so just don't participate in that. You haven't seen me around commenting on all of these other tokens. I'm not participating in all that. WhatsApp Ophirians? Yes, for those of you that do not know, Ophir was launched and we are live. And folks, you know what? That's the key. We launched at the bottom of the bear market and we're on Pulse Chain with Ophir and we're moving forward. But folks, if your timeline is weeks or months, you're not going to do well in this thing. The halving's coming up, hopefully in April, and we're going to see the next run. Well, what's it going to look like this time? And what things are going to survive, right? I think there will be surprised regardless, right? We think we know. But at the end of the day, I think people need a shot. And to me, this is the most disruptive technology in my lifetime, you know, and it's based on obviously the internet. But this is the time when the money is changing. And so the things that I think about are, what does the new economic order look like? And how is it more free? And could we take this thing back? Could we really actually have a place that's not tied to political power or war powers? And I think we can. That's what's at stake here. So when we're fighting with people over my thing's grape and my thing's orange, fine. At the end of the day, we've got to be looking at, hold on a second, we may not even have a place that you can, participate without having your retina scanned, if you know what I'm saying. John J. UK, what's up? All the above, Matt. Once a snowball starts rolling, we become unstoppable. And that's the thing you don't realize. And I think that a lot of people, I think a lot of people, especially the younger that you are, I missed out on things when I was younger. I missed out on the dot-com era. I was not in a position to have leverage there. And it's finally a time in my life where, you know what, we can really make a dent in this thing. And that's where this was what I consider, as far as my own personal legacy, this is the moment. So how do you advocate for people having a fair shot? They still have to take their own responsibility. But to me, this is more infrastructure. And let me share with you something that I've been kicking around in my head here that I would love your feedback on. If you think about the big channels on YouTube, think about, I don't know, Mr. Beast or Dude Perfect or whoever you want to insert that's making just a ton of money on that platform. What enables them to make that money? Well, there's a platform called YouTube that has these, it's a platform where people can advertise. If there wasn't advertising dollars, there wouldn't be no reason to be on those platforms. And so we find ourselves now at a time where there's a platform. And DeFi represents this opportunity for people, no matter where you are. If you've got an internet connection, a MetaMask wallet, and a couple bucks, you got a chance. That's real infrastructure when it comes to the financial system. And so many people don't even understand what DeFi is. They think that all crypto is FTX. And this is an opportunity to tell people this is a time where you have to take personal responsibility, but you can change your circumstances. And you can also lose. This stuff is highly volatile. But you know what? Honestly, if it was safe, there wouldn't be the gains. And so it's a game. But folks, there is a time coming in the not too distant future when this is all mainstream. And what I mean by that is you will pay for things digitally. I mean, just look at PayPal's stablecoin, right? To me, that's a watershed moment, not because I like the contract, because that's definitely not the case. But if you think about what happened there, it's such a significant event. I don't know if you recognize across the web, but where is PayPal accepted? You just look across the board. Because they were able to put in this stablecoin, now you could literally take anything. So let's just use hexagons for example. Let's say you had Hex. You could on Ethereum, because this new, was it PYUSD? Unfortunate name, by the way. If that is an ERC20, which it is, you could swap for that and you could buy something through a retailer, right through the PayPal app. Do you know they paved the way to retailers for Hex? Yeah, now you probably don't want to, use that, but that's true. That actually happened before there was this stablecoin, and now that there is. That means you can swap over and you can get things at anywhere PayPal is accepted. Now, I don't advocate for that stablecoin because they have the ability to basically freeze your account, but it's a sign of the times, right? This is where things are headed. Whether you agree with them or not, whether you like PayPal or not, it is a sign of the times. And it's a good sign because it's basically saying, hey, we care about, extending this to real value, because I can't go down to the corner store and buy a Coke with Hex right now, right? But online, if somebody accepted PayPal, I theoretically could. And that is a development. But as we move forward in time and we see that, CBDCs, and this is the effort, right? This is the goal, is to control this money. And so what do you see? The Federal Reserve, the reason that they are supporting stable coins that are backed by fiat is because it's US dollars. And they may end up having these de facto CBDCs. It may not be as clear as, one ring to rule them all, some new world reserve currency that's based on the dollar. But folks, things are in turmoil, but these are where the opportunities are, right? You have to wade into the white water, if you know what I'm saying. More on-ramps and off-ramps. Yes, liquidity locked would be juicy. I love that. That sounds like a Somi saying right there, right? Pointy elbows, squeaky chairs, dusty rooms. Tigre, I'm DCing popcorn because 2024 is going to be fire. Mixed Crypto Arts morning. It's 6 a.m. here. Hope everybody's well. Thanks for being here. Oh, yeah, you are in Asia, as I recall, in Japan, is what my guess is. Welcome back, Barry Crump. Only those who are overextended financially are suffering the anguish of an everlasting bull market and super low dips. Those who know how the 4-year cycles works will be accumulating. Richard Hart will win. Yeah, in some way or another, this exists, right? That's actually something that Richard's talked about since the beginning. If he goes away, it still exists, but it shows you how important leadership is, right? All of these cryptocurrencies. I mean, there have been a cult of personality. And look what happens when you don't hear from them. Everybody's like, devouring each other. And that's part of the reason I wanted to stream today is I just wanted to see how you're doing. Do not let your heart be troubled, folks. Do not be discouraged. Waiting is hard, right? But Barry, you're right. I mean, there are people who are suffering. But also, I would recognize the fact that I don't know if you've gone out to eat recently or you've tried to buy stuff or put fuel in your vehicle. The people that are really suffering are the people that are on, fixed incomes, right? Pensioners, those type of people. I mean, this is a really tough time for people who have, hand to mouth, folks that are working, relying on fuel for their jobs, a lot of manual type of workers. I mean, food costs, everything is rising. And, you see, I mean, that this next push to eat bugs, all of these kind of things are, it's not good. And, I did a stream on Oliver Anthony's song, Rich Men North of Richmond. And it's this anthem for how people are feeling. And it's resonated like everywhere I look, I see him in that song. And folks, there's some special things coming here because, the last time these things happen, I think back in the Carter years, and I was a young man at the time before Ronald Reagan got into office. And just looking back in history, what a pivotal time. We're either going to go literally straight off the cliff or we're going to have this moment where we have real leadership that basically says, hey, we got to disassemble this thing and rebuild it. And that's part of the reason I support Texas independence, because we need to make it very clear that if you won't fix this, we're going to go our own way. That's all I have to say about that. BitBoy just had a poll. 60% of crypto people are holding alts. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, and you look at Bitcoin dominance, and then what did they say? Bitcoin drops what, 8-10%, and then they come out and say that there's going to be a Ethereum ETF. Mark, what's going on? Good to see you. CTT. The world needs more crypto heartbeats. Hey, just try and, there's just not everybody likes watching Crypto Heartbeat, but hopefully I'm bringing just a sense of calm to you, because I don't get involved in a lot of this. I'm not the guy you come to for TA, right? I'm the guy you come to for some counseling, right? For you to just be reminded that, folks, this isn't about one coin or another. This is about, really, in my opinion, the future of personal sovereignty. That's what I think it is. If you want to have the ability to make choices in the future, and those be your own choices and not based on someone else's opinion, or like, this is important. And the money is extremely important, because money is what drives politics. And so, leadership, everything. And to think that we are in a time where the money is changing, we should be doing everything we possibly can to secure it for everyone equally. And it feels a lot like early America. It feels like that time where, you've got this opportunity, you won this war, and here you are having to create something new. And you're like, well, what do we do? And that's where we are, right? Hey, this thing is imploding. Babylon's burning in an hour. How do we create this new economic system? Well, there's this thing that's completely transparent. You can't double spend. It's on the blockchain. It's a new technology. And basically, if you hold your own keys, it's kind of you and the contracts. Wow. The purity of that means, wow, if people actually hear this call and they can see what's in front of them, what an opportunity for everyone to be on an even playing field. It's very, very rare that things get reset without bloodshed. Let me say that again. It's very, very rare that things get reset without bloodshed. And this is, it's a peaceful revolution. That's what crypto is. This opportunity for people to go, hold on a second. Yeah, a couple bucks, MetaMask wallet. I don't care where you are, internet connection. You can be part of a community. And there's a lot more value here than it is just money. Do not forget that. This is a special thing we have. Even Erica Wall has to admit that. outside of Bitcoin, we're the largest community and definitely the most engaged in all of crypto, and the one that has more strong, lasting relationships. We should build on those strengths, folks. We shouldn't be fighting each other at all. Yeah, it gets me kind of down. JB, what's up? The longer things go sideways, the harder things pop likely up from here. I think with this SEC stuff, that's going to be hanging over us for a while. The question is, how long will that go, and what will come out of that? So it'd be really interesting to see that. But you know what? If there's ever a time for this to happen, I'm glad it's happening now, right? When everything's down, it's not like everything else is up and we're just sitting here like XRP did. I mean, everybody's down. So you're like, okay, we can wait this thing out. But you know what? That's what I said before. There's this like, it's divinely, there's a weird fairness that works out in the end. You watch, right? Because there's a plan to all this stuff. Yeah, this is all bigger than crypto. That's right. Hey, Moon Whale, there he is. What's up, man? It's so good to see you, hear from you. I'm so glad that you're making a comment here. Folks, Moon Whale is one of the guys who helped preserve this thing for all of us. So good to see you, man. I hope you're doing well. Hope you're feeling better. And glad to see you in the chat. And then Anthony Munoz. Look, that's what I love about Crypto Harbor. We got Moon Whale, who's not some spring chicken, and then we've got the youngest billionaire on planet Earth, Anthony Munoz. What's up, dude? Good to see you. Cookie to chocolata. Hello, everybody. Hope you're all doing great. Not giving into the whole doom and gloom right now. Well, that's what we're trying to do, at least. We're trying to encourage you. Academaciated, what's up? What's up? And Scott O'Shaughnessy, it is good to see you as well. I was just talking about the Bahamas not long ago. Just we're looking at communities to tokenize. We just did, obviously, the Texan token with the TNM, and folks who love freedom and sovereignty and being a part of a political independence story, and then a philanthropic story in the Philippines with these 5,000 churches across the Philippines. Amazing things happening there. And then we're working on a DEX called Freedom Swap and an incentive token called Unifier and a couple other things up our sleeves that are going to blow your mind. Sorry, I'm freezing up there. Jasol, what's going on? Optimality, we're all going to make it. That's the truth. Love from JB. Sasha, a wonderful good news, holding up. Long-time view and hold on. That's right. You got to have a long-term view. Well, and that's the thing about the halvening, folks. That's the cool thing about Bitcoin, right? The halvening's coming up in April. Relax. Do everything you can to create value. Get some dry powder. If possible, DCA, go away from the charts. Otherwise, the depression eats one up. And it's true. It's corrosive is what it is, right? Connect with people. 21's a magic number. Empty Corner, what's going on? Thanks for everybody coming in and saying hello. I really appreciate this. Ophir, Magnus, say Matt, right now struggling to make it every month. And there's a lot of people out there who, you look at the movie and people who have really believed this, right? There's a lot of people who got in at the top too. And it's hard. A lot of people got overextended. And then there are a lot of people who are just struggling with the very nature of, inflation. And, there's a lot of people, especially in the United States, that don't have much savings at all. And, consumer debt is its highest it's been, I think, as a ratio. And, this consumer debt bubble, it may pop. I mean, it may get much worse. But, you get into these spirals where, man, don't be watching YouTube shorts. Don't be on TikTok. Don't be on Instagram just swiping, because that will suck you in, and it'll destroy you. It's amazing what it ends up doing to you. You kind of like 2 hours went by and you're like, what in the world did I just waste my time on? You got to stay out of that stuff. Take a walk. Crypto Ethos, what's going on? Bless. More than I deserve, but still a struggle. Yeah. And it is for a lot of people. But, the one thing that we have that's unique is the ability to choose, right? We have this ability to make this choice. And, how you're going to see this and what you're going to do, right now it's a tough time to be hustling Richard Heart ecosystem. But you know what? I don't share it from that perspective with people. I talk about, The things that are happening in this world are constantly pushing people our way. I don't think that it's a mystery to people that there are people that are authoritarians in this world. I mean, you don't have to look very far to see people who are wanting to control you. And if you think of what potentially will come up this, fall and winter, people are talking about another Charlie 19 coming. You know what? I think we've learned a big lesson globally as a people. And one of the things that I think we'll find is that we have this commonality and what I feel a kinship with everybody that's across the world that's in our community because we experienced in one form or fashion the same thing, all of us collectively, whether it be lockdowns or whatever it may be. But we saw this evil head rear its head. And I would say in this time, we're just seeing these things um, falling apart. And that's where I believe ultimately the opportunity is because, it's like the centralized players are taking their own poison pill. And that's how I've always seen DeFi as it relates to CeFi. These people, they saw Bitcoin, they didn't take it seriously. It got out there and people realized, hold on a second, we can create our own money. And then Richard Hart, as a leader in all this, showed people that that was true. 10,000x in 621 days, 41 days, something like that. That is true. That happened. And when you see those kind of things happen and you can do that outside of centralized players, they're late to this party. And so, in my opinion, we have to preserve true DeFi. And when there's green candles, everybody's getting along. So it's just a matter of just hold your breath, right? Stay out of trouble, keep your nose clean, and get busy, get to work, right? Get to work. But we're all in this together, and we are going to make it. Mr. Rock Jockey, not all of us have what it takes to be a YouTuber, but we can all find our place in the community. That's right. And you guys have been incredibly supportive. I mean, I can't believe 62 people here in the bear market. I mean, when it's bull run, it's like 250, 300, and everybody's like, woohoo, this is great. And I was there. I mean, it was awesome. But you know what? This is way too important to not remind you how important it is because they're literally, I mean, think about this. If you want a dystopian view of what is possibly going to happen, if CBDCs or some form or fashion of CBDCs, digital IDs, which is coming right now, obviously the WHO, we're giving over authority to the WHO to basically tell us globally how we can travel. So the WHO is going to be the de facto system. They got it from the EU, and it's their system for determining how we handle travel as it relates to pandemics. The next thing that comes around, we basically gave that authority over. Thank you, Biden administration. And so these non-elected global organizations are going to determine and control things based on that. But this is all a part of this whole global warming initiative, right? This is the whole thing about resetting. This is the great reset. You will own nothing and be happy. It's happening. And they've got their tentacles all over the place. But the one thing they don't have control of is DeFi, of pure, true DeFi. And they think they've got Richard Hart. But see, that's the thing, folks. It seems so dark. Oh, no, the evil side will win. Now, you got to understand, I've read the book and I know how it ends. In the meantime, it's not very good. But ultimately, we come out the other side. And that's this crisis era that we're in. And we have a responsibility for it. So to me, we have to defend these things. We have to be a part of these things. We need to tell folks. So rather than saying, hey, you need to know about scraping or T-shares. No. It doesn't become about features anymore. It comes about literally almost an existential threat. Do you want to have the ability to have your own money and make your own decisions and be able to transact with who you want to, when you want to, with privacy? That's mounting, right? You don't have to make that case. The world's making that case for you. You just have to be able to articulate that to people. It's not about following some personality. It's about understanding what's at stake and what could be taken away from you. And I'll be honest with you, when I was younger, my dad would talk to me about stuff like this. He'd be like, they tell you how much water you put in your toilet and tell you what kind of light bulbs you need to use. And he was under this assumption that, back then the government was coming down on him. Of course, he would all worked up about Ruby Ridge and Waco and all of these things. And I go, he was so right. And I didn't realize it, right? But now, boy, do I see it. So we need to be advocating for each other. And that's why we support Texas independence. That's why we support DeFi. That's why we support the Richard Hart ecosystem. Would I have made different decisions than Richard Hart? Yeah, but you know what? I wouldn't have been as effective. That's why there's different voices, right? And you have one. But you have to realize what's a benefit to people. And you know what? It's like one of these things that's, it's going to become really apparent when people are restricted, right? And here's how it could potentially play itself out. There's the next challenge health-wise, right? Another Charlie 19. And it doesn't have to be lockdowns, but it could be significant issues that are affecting people's ability to earn. And so the government loves that, right? Because then they can hand out money to you in the form of stimulus. But this time, because we're going to a digital dollar or whatever it is in your country, you're going to have the government wallet. And do you want this money? And they're going to put you between a rock and a hard place. And you're going to be like, well, I have to survive. I have to eat. And so you have to accept this. This is the classic structure of how these things are done. Wouldn't it be nice to know that you have an alternative and you don't have to accept the handout? Because the handout comes with teeth and strings. That's coming, folks. It's obvious. But I look at this and I go, we're just in the beginning of this battle. And so you're going to be really glad when there's an alternative. We're working on some things in the background that are going to address these things. Richard Hart clearly is working on those things. But you know what? We'll get through this. And whether Richard ever streams again or is ever in public again, we have to carry out this legacy of preserving the true tenets of DeFi, period. That's our job. Get to work. AJ Rip City Hacks. Hey, what's up, Magnus? Kay Hudson, congrats on 10,000 subs. Thanks. Yeah, we crossed the line with the interview with Lamont Black. Professor Lamont talking about Texas is a recent tweet. Hey, I need to check that out. I haven't seen that. Fantastic. That's good to hear. Yeah, the peanut farmer, absolutely. Crypto Heartbeat, the heat of the heart. There you go. Can't have a first turning without the fourth turning. And you know what the first turning is? I know David Lee does, but that's this, think about my kids. They're the artists that are going to be a part of this new awakening, this exciting time. These are common things. We're really sitting, if there's something that's similar, we're sitting in this 1860s pre-Civil War era. That's where we are, a crisis era. It was different. There were different things then, but we're dealing with that same crisis thing now. But what does it lead to? It creates new leaders. It creates new systems, creates new opportunities. And so I'm up for the challenge. And I think Gen X, especially David Lee's up for the challenge, right? Supporting the troops in the field. It'd be great to see Babylon. It's going to burn in an hour, they say. Bright Light 57. Hope all is well with you all. Hoping and holding. That's all you can do. Let's go. Steve Wright, all the way from Santa Barbara. You kept me informed. I really appreciate it. Steve Wright, Santa Barbara. You know what? I said it many times. Spent time in Santa Barbara. So if you don't know this, Santa Barbara kind of curls around it's kind of facing north and south, actually, the kind of the beach and all that. But when you wake up in the morning in Santa Barbara, it's nice and cool, right? Because you got that ocean breeze. But sometimes you can smell the oil rigs, right? And you got this fog layer that kind of lifts in the afternoon. There is nothing better than Santa Barbara, if you know what I'm saying. There's a reason that Reagan went out there and people, kind of escaped the cosmopolitan lifestyle of LA and got up there to Santa Barbara. So I'm jealous, Steve, right? I hope you're enjoying things in that Shangri-La. Let's go Texan. Appreciate that. Hexy Quinn, thanks for being here. What's up, TJ? Hold on a second. Let's see. 6 p.m. You're up really, really early. Really early. Great to see you. Cadium, late, but made it. Hello to you. Trinity Realm. God wins in the end. Amen. I read the book. Haven't witnessed a bull run yet. 62 watching is great. Well, here's the thing. Take a look at the charts. Pull the charts and look at the halvenings of Bitcoin. These have kicked off the bull runs. Okay? So here's the thing. Likely, I would say we're going to see things change in January. New year. That's my sense, is that January is going to be a new year. It's going to be a new set of things to deal with. But, if April is the halvening, this is an opportunity. I mean, if anything, this is the accumulation phase for everyone. I mean, prices couldn't be better. We waited 2 years and boy, I mean, I'll tell you what, People that were in Hex, when it was at 42 cents were loving to have it at a penny. You got your wish. Crisis makes a community stronger. Let's stick with one another and take it one day at a time. Isn't that the truth? That's all you have, right? Every morning I wake up and I'm like, all right, I made it through the night. All right, what are we going to do today? And I think that's the thing where faith comes in that's so significant. You kind of go, this is a gift. This is a gift. And there's a purpose for you. You're not an accident, folks. You're not the descendant of a monkey. Keep the light within shining. Amen to that. Tank Crypto. AJ Rip City Hacks. What's up? 2028 should be the last year of the fourth turning. Yeah. There's a lot. 2032, I follow a guy named Martin Armstrong, and this is a secular guy who's an economist. But if you watch what he's got on his, Socrates, which is his computer program that's based mathematically, that's based on essentially the history of money since the very, very beginning. And he would say this cycle, right around that time, 2028, 2032, it's going to be really crazy. But, likely we'll all be alive. You get to see a new renaissance. But what we do today matters, folks. It really does. And I'm thankful for Richard Hart. I swear to you, he will become a meaningful person in the 21st century. I've said it many, many times. He is a Henry Ford character, right? Steve Jobs was one of those guys. I think Richard Hart will be one of those guys. I think history will be good to him and will overlook some of these Red Bull moments. But I think he's got a lot to say in the future. We just got to get over this hump, right? And we got to get good regulations. But things got to get more difficult, right? I don't know if you've seen this. What's his name? Vivek Ramaswamy? I totally butchered that. But he's running for president. And I mean, the people that are, he's a breath of fresh air when it comes to people that are running for office. We need new blood. Gen X needs to step in and take over in Washington, in my opinion. 5 more years, we got this. Yeah, I'll tell you, the last 5 years have gone by so fast. So you can do it. You can do it. We're going to make it. Hex 647. Hello. Good to see you. David Lee, 100%. Cattle on the beach in Santa Barbara by the sea has deer. Oh, nice. My understanding too, let me think. Santa Barbara, north there. Well, I guess you got to get up to Carmel and all that to get by Pebble Beach and everything. It's the 17-mile drive or something like that. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. But they've ruined it. Politics in California. Moonwell, thanks for being here, man. So, as a final wrap up to this stream, one, we are going to make it together. I hope you're holding up well. You gotta grin and bear it, but stay off. Don't get yourself mixed up into things and be careful out there. There's a lot of people who are a lot of speculation, right? When there's not the traditional things moving up into the right, people will try to find things. And so I won't even comment on all of these things that are going on as it relates to other tokens and who's behind that. I mean, if we've ever speculated in the past, we've made some mistakes, right? Thinking that one thing would be this way. I mean, I talked for 2 years about the Pulse Chain launching. It finally did. But folks, I don't have a crystal ball, but I do know this. This is a very consequential time because I can read the macro tea leaves, and that is money's going digital, fully digital. And the question is, we have the opportunity to stand up and defend an alternative that is not going to be compromised. It's going to be attacked. And of course, right? It's threatening. What do you mean you're using your money? Yeah, we're using our money. We're not using your money. What do you mean you can't do that? Oh, yeah, we can. Yeah, you work for us. I don't know if you remember that. We are the sovereigns, not the state. We created the government. We are the sovereigns. That's what we have to do. We have to remind people who they are, who you were created to be. You have sovereignty. And we need to make sure, while we still have some, control of this, is to preserve it for those who follow. And how do we do that? By making sure that there is a vertically aligned ecosystem with a layer 1 and all the different infrastructure and tools so that our children and grandchildren can transact freely. It's so critical, right? Speech, all these things, movement, you got to have resources to do it. And to think that we're at this time where we could, by coming together in unity in community, that we could actually advocate for others in addition to ourselves, that could be the difference in preserving something that is lasting, that is separate from centralized authoritarian globalist pieces of beep. So that's what I have to say. Hope you're doing well. Do not let your heart be troubled, and do not mess with Texas, right? That's what I always say. Hex Farmer, good to see you. Thank you all, folks, and we will catch you tomorrow, likely. Take care and have a good night.